Today I am going to change my sun-damaged midline trim and my skirt trim. I don't know what they're really called, but you can see that they're very damaged. And I decided to change it from the chrome to black. When I get back, I'm going to show you the stuff that I bought, and I'm going to tell you about my process and show you how it all turns out.
Airstream song, cruising to the campsite singing our song. Airstream song, we are the Airstream nerds. Yeah!
So my Airstream sits over there on the concrete pad, and the sun comes in all day long and beats down on the side of it. Normally your trim is nice and shiny and chromy, and it looks like that. But as you can see where the sun hits it, all the chrome has peeled off, and it looks like crud. So, I decided that I was going to replace all this stuff, but I wasn't sure exactly what I was going to replace it with. Did a little research, and I found that Trim Guard is a place that a lot of people have used. I contacted Trim Guard. I'll put their link and the link to all this stuff down below. Trim Guard sent me a sample set and allowed me to figure out what pieces I needed. I ended up using the 5/8 902 and the 1-inch 8002S. So the 902 is the thinner stuff, and the 1000 or the 8000N2 is the thicker stuff. This stuff comes off real easy. So you basically pull it off. Now the top piece, there's two pieces. There's this little short piece, and then this piece which goes entirely around the camper to here. There are only two things in the way, which are the arms. So when I start doing this, I'm gonna have to pull the arms out so I can run this around in one continuous piece. The straps for the front window, they can just drop down, but everything else is a continuous piece. However, on the lower side, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different pieces. And there's one area up front that we'll look at later that's in front of the battery box that's going to be really tough to get to. But that is for later. Like I said, the 902 is what I purchased. It comes with the adhesive tape on it, the 3M tape already on it. And you can't just peel it off and put the new stuff on. First thing we have to do is we're going to have to make sure we have all the pieces. There's still chunks of chrome in here. There's pieces of the rubber, the old tape that's in here. Getting the adhesive off that came off the old stuff is not that hard. Just basically roll it and it comes off. You just want to get you can see that there's a little bit of residue left. The adhesive remover takes that right off, which is what we use on the last step. Okay, so without actually cleaning this, I'm not going to stick the new piece on. But I also purchased this trim cutter. I think I got this off of Amazon. I bought all this stuff at the midpoint of COVID when everything was on lockdown, and I fully intended a little over a year ago to do this project, but of course I didn't. So I've had this stuff sitting here for a while. This tool's pretty easy to use. It's got a center like a table saw kind of. It allows you to put it on here so it's nice and straight, and you just squeeze and it cuts a nice straight line. It's the first time I've used it, so it works. So this is going to go in here. Now it stays in there because it's not a tight fit, it's a perfect fit for up here. So without cutting the length and stuff, that is how it's going to look like when it's done. Now it's different. But I don't think you've got black here, you got black windows, you got black tires, you got black steps, you got black. It's basically a silver and a black thing. So I don't think that this is going to make it look like crazy different. I've seen pictures of a couple of other people that have done this, and I think it looks really nice. Now the good thing about this is solid rubber. It's not solid rubber with chrome over top of it, with like chrome tape, which is the reason why this has an issue. It's solid, it's shiny all the way through, should not be affected by sun, maybe in 20 years or whatever, you know, just like any vehicle. But this should not fade, or the top layer is not going to peel off of this. I think it's going to look pretty cool. And let's take a look at the other piece. Now, like I said, the lower trim is a bunch of small pieces. So let's go ahead and knock this. You can see, use the little hook. You grab behind the trim. And it really comes off super easy. It's the sticky stuff that doesn't. I'm not gonna cut this one, I'm just gonna stick it in there to see what it looks like. Again, I think that's going to look pretty cool. I think it's going to look nice, and it's definitely going to look better than the weather-beaten, ugly, no longer chrome trim that's on there. Okay, you can see the difference between what I've cleaned and what I haven't. So this is basically what I'm using. I'm using Grease Lightning Cleaner and Degreaser. And I'm just gonna do this little spot like I've been doing it. So I spray the whole deal. I get a scrub brush. Now the toothbrush works, but I use a toothbrush for the upper, and this is just a dishes brush. And I'm getting down in this crack, back and forth, where there's seams like that. I'm doing a little rotation, and then underneath, then I do a quick pass in the middle. Then I have Scotch-Brite that I cut down small so it'd be easier to manage, and I'm catching the upper part of it like this, and then I'm taking and doing the lower part, and then I run it quickly back through the middle. I got the hose. Now the whole camper needs to be washed, but I'm not in washing my camper mode yet. I just really want to get this area where I'm doing the trim. I've got it cleaned, so to speak. Now, just for kicks and grins, I'm gonna spray the adhesive stuff in there first. Wipe it off. Make sure it gets off of there. Make sure we get, I mean, it's bone dry now. Okay, so now I'm gonna get my cleaner rag and the alcohol that I haven't spilt yet. Trust me, this will hit the ground at some point. As long as the lid is closed, I'm okay. Now I just picked this up at Ace Hardware. Local hardware store sells it in the paint department. So this was like $6, $7 when I bought it. I'm not being afraid to use it. It's not going to hurt anything. All right, so we got that piece ready to go. Okay, so I have cleaned the top. What I ended up using, I used Grease Lightning but it's basically just a multi-purpose cleaner. I guess 401 or any of those types of spray cleaners will work. Basically, because it's been, you know, this is a 05, there's crud gets down here in the corner, like in the gaps between the you don't think there's a gap there, but it's, trust me, stuff can get in there. So I had this line of like pollen and filth and crap that were in the top and the bottom. So I used a little green pad and just ran it in there real good. Then I used a toothbrush on the ends, and I used a toothpick just to pick out some of the grime that's in the corner. Luckily, I only have 2 other corners to do because these are the 2 ends. This is a solid piece. So it didn't take that long. What did you say, about 5 minutes? 5 minutes? So it took me about 5 minutes to clean that up. So what you want to do before you put your piece on, I guess right before you put your piece on, we'll worry about that. So let's cut this. Now, I haven't really determined the best way to do this yet, but what I think I'd like to do is use a piece of painter's tape so I can get it nice and good. So I'm going to just slide that into there, make sure we're butted at the end. Oh, that was good. Tape landed right where. So you don't want it touching. You want to leave yourself a little bit of a gap. So I'm just going to put the tape on there so I can mark it with a marker. Now the reason why you don't want to jam it up all the way in, you want to leave a little bit of a gap, is because just like everything, this expands and contracts when it gets hot and cold. So if we get it really tight and it is not as hot as it will be, it could expand, and then it'll end up pushing out, and you'll end up with an area that looks like that because it expands, and then you essentially got a screwed up piece. So I'm going to leave just a little bit of gap like that. I got my place where I want it down there. I got my marker in my mouth. Now I'm going to kind of inchworm down here. This is a short piece, so I'm going to then mark it where I want it. Now the good news is I got extras. Bad news is I don't want to use my extras. So I'm going to set this piece, make sure that it's sitting in there straight. I'm going to cut it just a little bit to the left side of my mark because I want to make sure that I didn't, you can always cut it shorter, but you can never cut it longer. So I want to put this thing back in here, and I'm going to fit it. I got a gap on that side. I have a little bit more of a gap on this side. So let's try to, now this is the door. So I've got like a, you know, a three foot piece at most that I have to look at. So I'm looking at that, and you can see I've got a gap here, and I've got a little bit more of a gap down here, but it's no worse than what is on here. So that's kind of what we want. Even though you're tempted to push this thing perfectly even so it's nice and pretty that way, trust me, you don't want to do that. Obviously, this part of this is easy. When we start doing these long pieces, I'm not going to have the privilege to hold the whole piece in my end and check both ends. So we're literally going to start here and start peeling and bringing it all the way around to here and then cutting it. So we won't test fit it first. It'll be almost impossible. So in that case, what you're going to do is you're going to peel a little piece of the tape off, kind of bring it up to the top like that. You're going to get the piece set in there where you want, and you're going to peel a little more. Move your hand down, peel a little more, put your hand down. And you're just literally going to peel and stick as you go. You may be tempted to pull it all off, but then you get your finger stuck in it, and that can lessen the adhesive properties of the 3M. You get oil. You may not know it, but you always have oil on your fingers, even the driest hands. Well, look at that. So as you can see, as I fit it all in there, it's now a little bit too long. I don't know how the heck that kind of thing happens, but as you're pushing it in, it's stretching it a little bit. So that's another reason why I didn't pull all the adhesive off. So now I can put this thing on here, and I'll take a little more than that. Well, I can tell you this cutter's nice. I had my doubts. Okay, so now and there is the door. Can I do a quick walk around? I just finished putting all the trim on. Now keep in mind, you have to take those off. There is trim underneath and on top, so you want to make sure you measure those areas correctly. Now I showed you earlier how I got down the side of there. I think it adds a little bit of flair to it with all the black that's on it. It's a nice contrast. You have the black windows, you have the black tires, you have the darker bottom part down there. It's a nice contrast with the black. Oh, look, a bird's already decorated that one. But it's all done. Now let me show you what I used. So like I said, it all started when I saw a picture of an Airstream with the black trim, and I liked it. So I found this company, Trim Guard, and they sent me a sample book. This is the molding. So this is the 50-foot piece. This is the 20-foot piece. And I probably got about 18, 17 feet left in here. I've got a bunch in here because I needed more than a 50-foot roll, and it was a continuous piece, so I bought the 100. So there's enough to do a big section of it over, as you can see. Now I'm gonna put links to all this stuff below. These are the tools and the materials I used. This is a 3M adhesive remover. I ended up using on my 25-footer not even a whole can, so I bought 2. I overdid it. Like I said, some sort of Pine Sol, 401, whatever type of cleaner you have. I just use that on the brush and everything. Denatured alcohol, I got that at Ace Hardware. Grease Lightning, don't know where I got it, but some sort of cleaner degreaser you want to use. I did find one rivet that came loose of the trim, so I replaced one rivet. I used a screwdriver to push the rag through behind the battery box. Obviously you saw the pick earlier when I was cleaning. I used this putty knife that's rigid to help behind the battery box. The cutter for the trim. Tape measure, some toothpicks for in the corners cleaning. A hard roller, you'll want something like this, because once you put it on there, you want to roll with force. You don't want to just, you want to really push to kind of make the adhesive a better stick. Also used a, I forget now. This is an 11 millimeter socket to take the screws off of the stainless steel protectors. That, my friends, is everything I used for the new trim on my Airstream. If I was to time it, it took maybe 3 hours total to do the bottom, and probably the same to do the top. It took a little longer to do the top row because I was trying to figure out a system. Once I got the top row figured out, bottom row went pretty quick. It takes about 5 minutes to pull the old stuff off, It peels right off. It takes maybe 20 minutes to go around and roll with your thumb the residue. It takes 20 minutes to go around with the adhesive remover and get the little pieces of adhesive that you didn't get. And it takes, again, another 10 minutes to go around the bottom and wipe it with the denatured alcohol. And then it takes maybe a half an hour to peel and stick this stuff. It's really not hard. Start with the bigger pieces first. That way, if you screw up, you can always buy shorter pieces cheaper than a big roll. So this is the longest piece here. It goes from here to here on the other side. So it was about 23, 24 feet. So this piece back here was about 17 feet. So that's the 20-foot roll. That was part of the 50-foot roll. And then I got that piece left over out of the 20-foot roll that I used for the back. That was just a small piece. A couple of like 3-4 foot pieces for the stainless steel, and I was done. Hey guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy this project. Once again, this is Jeff.
And Jenny.
And we're the Airstream Nerds. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, put any comments below, and we'll see you on the next trip.